All right, so now let's talk about how to source products. So we have a lot of different ways to source products. It depends on what you're trying to sell. So we have the traditional ways to source products that I think maybe you might have heard of before in the past, but just in case you haven't, I'll tell you about them. Things like Alibaba. Alibaba is Chinese, and so a lot of the manufacturers on there are based in China. China is, basically the manufacturing hub of the world. There are some really great manufacturers over there at good prices. And so this is one of the best ways to find products, or at least connect with manufacturers, work with them to help build out the product specifically of what you're looking for. It'll also help you understand costs a little bit better, so you can make sure you're not getting ripped off when you go on there, talk to manufacturers, and compare their costs for all of them. We have things like Temu, AliExpress. There's a lot of different platforms that you can source products from, but really the most important thing that you can do, or the biggest alpha here, is going to be direct relationships with manufacturers. And the truth is that they just come over time. So especially if you're just getting started, this can be one of the biggest barriers to entry, because you might not know many manufacturers, and they might not really be willing to talk to you if you tell them, yeah, I've not made a single dollar, and I want to, take like 2 hours of your time to talk about your factories and see how we can work together. Sometimes it can be hard to get on the phone with them, or even get responses on emails if they know that you are a very beginner seller, because they just don't take you very seriously. So this can be a problem, and it's one that is hard to get around. You just kind of have to brute force your way through it in order to connect with these manufacturers. I've also seen people go over to China. They'll take a trip to China to go to factories to meet with manufacturers. They tend to do that later once they're already making money, but if you're a little bit crazy and you want to just do that, then you could, and you could, potentially find some really good connections and relationships there. There's also things like there are trade fairs that you can go to. There's a really big trade fair in China. Maybe I'll link to it down below, that people go to find connections and relationships with manufacturers. But the one that I actually did for a product that I launched a couple months ago was actually, you can just make it yourself. And I know that sounds mind-blowing to a lot of people. It depends on the type of product that you are selling, but sometimes, as long as it's not like food, for example, which you have to have like FDA approvals for, but if it's a simple product, you'd be surprised the types of things that you can actually just make yourself, or find someone in your local area who's like a machinist, for example, or maybe you have a 3D printer that you can print a product yourself and start to get it out to market. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I did with my first product, or one of the products that I just launched a couple months ago. I made it myself, and I basically have the MVP. I have the minimum viable product for it. I wanted to make sure that it works. And now what I'm doing right now is I'm taking it to a co-manufacturer. So a lot of products that you find, especially like food products, for example, they are not actually manufacturing those products themselves. They work with someone who manufactures it for them in the States or somewhere nearby. So co-manufacturers or co-packaging is a really big business, especially in the United States. If you want to, let's say that you want to sell like bars of soap, right? But you don't have a warehouse for it. You don't have the machinery to create like a Dr. Squatch competitor, right? Like a soap company. There are dozens or hundreds of co-manufacturers that you can go to in the United States. I mean, there's ones here in Philadelphia that I can call up right now and say, hey, I want to produce soap. I have my own brand. Can you help me produce this? And they already have the equipment. They have the factory here in the States, and they will help me do that. And they will, might have to do 5,000 units on the first order or something. This is what most like CPG companies do, consumer packaged goods companies do, especially if you're launching some type of food product. This is one that I would recommend, is calling up local manufacturers or machinists or other people who can help you create this product in your local area before you go out and try to find something in a different country with a language barrier and other kind of problems there as well. So I don't really see anybody talking about that, but you can make it yourself. It's going to take some time, but you can. It depends on what you're making. If you're making like SD cards or something, then no, you probably can't make this in your basement. But if it's a more simple product, you can. Now, a really big pointer that I want to share with you is when you're sourcing products, you're going to want to get as many samples as you can to find the best one for value that's going to, cost the least for you, but also have the highest quality. And so the way to do this is to reach out to basically as many manufacturers as you can and get samples from them, and then compare all of those samples. And I would recommend getting at least 5 samples of any specific product that you're looking for so that you can compare them all and make sure that you find the best one. And you could do this on Alibaba or on these other platforms, is reach out to them, and most of them are willing to send you a sample. You might have to cover shipping costs or something, but yes, that's something that you definitely should be doing for all of your products.